What's going on, everybody? It's Matt from Night and Day Performance, back again with another video. We're doing a how-to today on a 2018 Durango SRT. This video will work for your SRT Durango as well as your Jeeps, as well as the Hellcat and the Trackhawk platforms. This kit specifically is from Per4mance Development. They've come on board with our build, and we're going to be doing the front diff brace as well as the rear diff brace. This video will be for the front portion of the installation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over the instructions and some of the tools behind me. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and subscribe down below so we can keep getting information on car content, how-to videos, and ask us any questions you may have. Again, I'd like to say, Per4mance Development, thank you guys for coming on board and sponsoring this portion of the build. I hope everybody enjoys the video. We're going to get right into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go over what tools you'll need to do this installation. Along the way, if we have any changes, we will let you know what's going on and what you might need. So right down here is our Per4mance Development kit. It comes with everything complete, from your bolts to your Loctite to the components that you need. They have instructions, and of course it's packaged a lot nicer than this when you get it personally from them. I've already taken the packaging out so that we can go ahead and utilize our space here to the best of our advantage. All right, so it comes with instructions here that you're going to get from Per4mance Development. It's going to tell you exactly how to install this, and we're going to do a little video for them based on this installation to kind of show you what you need to do. All right, now for the installation, for what tools you'll need, you're going to need a torque wrench. Does not have to be a fancy one like this. It can be the normal click type torque wrench that you would normally use. Breaker bars are always good in case you happen to need them. I have a little cheater bar here that can go on my wrenches in case I need it. I have a 17 and an 18 wrench, a 17 and an 18 socket. I have a couple of different extensions of the 1/2-inch nature, as well as a hand ratchet. So there are other tools you can use for this. These are what they recommend for you to use as far as for the space that we're working with. While we're doing this, if we have additional tools, we will notate those for you guys on what we're switching out and what we need. I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys in position to begin the install. Look forward to it. See you guys in a second. All right, everybody, so we're in position now. I'm underneath the vehicle, right underneath the steering rack. The camera is sitting on the passenger side of the vehicle. You're right underneath the tire for the passenger side, just to give you a reference on where we're at. So right above me is the steering rack, our front differential, and this is where we're gonna be installing our components today from Per4mance Development. So right here is an 18. The first step of the instructions is to loosen this 3/4 of an inch out. Basically, we're gonna make enough space for the brace to go in here. Now to do so, you can use a ratchet and a socket, but what you're gonna have to do is unplug some of this, most likely, because it is kind of in the way, but it might be a little faster. What I'm gonna use is an 18 wrench. Now, if you don't know how to use an 18 wrench with a cheater, you can lock it in like that so that you have more leverage. Be careful when you do this because it can slip. So we're gonna go on to that bolt, and we're gonna do that right there. All right, so we're getting some leverage to get this bolt loosened. They are strong bolts, so sometimes you have to put some work in to get them. All right, so we broke it loose. So now we're gonna go ahead and loosen this one about 3/4 of an inch of the space behind it. It is a very long bolt. So what we're doing is we're gonna loosen it so that we have some space. All right, so we got the bolt removed about 3/4 of an inch. To measure, I mean, you can move it out a little bit more if you need to. The only thing we're focused on here is making sure that we have enough space to get that behind that bolt. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and put it up in place. You're gonna get it behind that washer. And once it gets its way in there, there is a little lip here that kind of stops you from doing it a little bit. So as you're going, if you need to move it a little bit out, you can. So we're gonna go out a little bit, just enough, like that, so it slips in place. We're gonna go ahead and tighten it. So right now I have an 18 and a 3/8 ratchet because it's a lower profile. So we're gonna tighten it now to where it doesn't come out basically, but not super tight to where it doesn't move. So we still wanna be able to move. All right, so right now we can still move it a little bit. We're gonna have to be able to get it around this little bracket right here, okay? So gonna leave that sitting right there. Careful with this, it might fall. Our next step is going to be to go grab an A-frame. A-frame is like a really big jack stand. If you're on the floor doing this, you can just use a jack stand underneath this portion of the differential, or a jack to hold it up, because the next thing we're going to be doing is removing the bolt back here. Once we remove this bolt back here, things can move, so we want to keep everything in place. All right, so I'm going to grab the A-frame. I'll be right back. All right, so to give you an explanation of what an A-frame is, that is an A-frame. It's kind of in the shape of an A. It's a really big jack stand per se. And what we're using this jack stand for is to help support the differential while we're working on it. So we're going to go ahead and go up. We're not going to lift the vehicle because we are on a lift, so you have to be careful. We're basically just putting enough support under here so that this doesn't move. So we're going to snug that till it's tight, like that. And then we're going to take this bolt out back here because this one has to come all the way out. Got it all the way loose. We're going to take it out. Now the A-frame is what's holding it up in place. So if you have a jack under it or something else, make sure there's enough tension to hold it up. We're going to take this bolt out. We're going to refer back to our instructions for step 2. All right, so we have it underneath. We have it on the pivot point. So now we are going to use the 100 millimeter bolt. So it's an M12 by 1.5 millimeter by 100 millimeter bolt. All right, so basically if you look, the bolt that they have sent with it is a little bit longer, which is going to make up for the space that we have for this diff brakes. So just so you know the difference in bolts that you have with the kit. So just so you know, they might change colors depending on their shipping, but these are the bolts that come with the kit here. So we're using the longest one right here. So the longest of the 4. All right, so we're gonna slide this here up in place. And we're gonna use this long bolt here. Put it back in the hole that we just took the other one out. Now I'm gonna use my deep well 18. Because it needs to be a little longer. And we're just gonna snug this up. Let's double check the instructions. Alright, so we're going to tighten the bolt until it's snug. And then we're going to tighten the front mounting bolt until it's snug. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and tighten these 2 bolts. So now we're going to move on to the next step of our instructions here. Next, remove the 2 bolts from the differential where part 2 will attach to the front differential. This is just above the threaded hole on the installed part 1. So here, installed part 1, threaded hole. Up above, there's 2 bolts right here. Okay, and it says set the bolts aside to keep for future use. So basically, if you want to take this off later on, you can keep these set to the side as well. So you need a 16 millimeter socket for these 2 bolts here. All right. Be careful. You don't need any knuckle busters through here. Knuckle busters are not fun. All right, and here is the portion where they're telling us that we can use a really long extension. So this first portion here, I'm good. I can get it out with that. This one back here, if I don't, to get a little bit of a movement, I would need to bring it back here and use a really long extension. So I do have a long extension. I'll grab it real quick. Alright, so I'm back. I have a pretty long extension. This is about 12 inches. And looking at this, I'm going to need a little more than that, so I have 2. Alright, so probably roughly like 18 inches. Alright. We're going to get this routed through so we can get to the other side. Alright, so I'm on the other bolt on the opposite side. Got that one broke loose. This one spun out. Once they are loose, they're pretty easy to do by hand, so you can take the ratchet off. Alright, so we got our second bolt out there. I'm going to leave that up there because we're going to need that again in a minute. So now we're going to go ahead and go to part two. Part two of the installation is going to require the two bolts that are gold in nature, that are not as long, as well as the 90 millimeter long bolt. So these are 75 millimeters and 90 millimeters. So you're going to put them in on the flat side. So all this is flat, this is the step side. So on the flat side, we're going to slide all three of them in before we put it up, and then we're going to take the provided Loctite and we're going to put Loctite on all these bolts. That is in the instructions. Alright, once our Loctite is on, we're going to go ahead and start putting it in place. So we're going to slide this up here. And then we're going to go ahead and take this bottom bolt and we're going to start threading it in just a little bit, which will help it go in a little, will help it stay up there. And then we're going to thread in our top two bolts by hand. Alright, so if you have a battery ratchet, it makes it a little faster. If not, you can use the hand ratchet that I described earlier in the tools needed. So we're going to tighten until it's snug. I'm going to use my extension. We're going to go up through here, so if you can see, we're going up through, we're going up through here right beside the steering shaft, or not the steering shaft, I'm sorry, the steering linkage. So we're going to go up here, right by the control arm, onto the bolt. Snug that up. Make sure our other front one is snugged up. Alright. Now it's a little bit of the tedious process, because what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to tighten this one right here with a wrench. The reason I said start this one earlier is because if you don't and you tighten the top two, this one's not going to want to start. So this one you have to do by hand, because nothing's going to fit in there as far as the socket goes. Not until you get it all the way tight, at least. Now we have this bolt tight here. Quick reminder, there is a washer that goes behind this bolt that's included in the packaging that is not in the instructions. Make sure you put that washer in place. And now is the last step. We're going to torque these to spec. The specs that are given to us in the instruction, these two outer bolts here that are going on the frame for the main bracket, these are 75 foot-pounds of torque. Then these three right here are 48 foot-pounds of torque that are on part two. So if you guys have been with us for the longest, I appreciate you guys for, following us and following the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe down at the bottom. Leave any comments that you have for us. We always love to hear comments, no matter if they're good, bad. It just helps us grow. Like I said, until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks Per4mance Developments for, Performance Developments, I can't talk, for helping us out in this build and for sponsoring this build. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, Matt from Night and Day Performance, out.